It's the Morning Brew with Elle Dawson and Gillian Robertson. Brought to you by Fight Bananas.
Good morning. Happy Sunday, guys. Yours truly, Elle Dawson here. And to my side, I never know what your view looks like. Left, right, I don't know. Is Gillian the Savage Robertson. Good morning. How you doing, G?
Good morning. Coming off a pretty good Apex card. And I'm like, a great main event, I will say.
Oh my gosh. No, 100%. I feel like we have to jump right in to talk about Fluffy Hernandez, middleweight Marab. I love that. I think it's absolutely accurate. Man, I'm so impressed with him, obviously. He had a beautiful performance. I did expect him to break down Roman Dolidze. I just didn't expect Dolidze to fold like origami under pressure so fast, to be honest with you. That speaks to the pressure of Fluffy.
Oh, yeah. No, I knew Fluffy was going to bring that pressure. My questions were on how he would handle Dolidze's ground game. And he essentially just didn't, for the most part. I'm like, in the beginning, he was like, take him down and just get away from him. And I was like, no, that's smart. You're like, because Dolidze, the second he gets in his guard, he's like working, submission after submission, trying to work. And every time Fluffy would take him down, Dolidze would roll to his guard, and Fluffy would just be like, all right, I'm out. Get back up. I'm like, that's a perfect way to handle that.
No, 100%. It was just great decision making. You know, like you can't put hooks in on a great leg locker. You staple, not hook. Like, and he did just such a good job of that. And he even like, not what I prefer, but I feel like it worked really well for him, where he would go like inside leg ride on both feet behind the back, which I don't hate. But he did it. I feel like he rode him perfectly to avoid any like dangerous leg entanglements. But also, like, man, if you're Dolidze and your jiu-jitsu is here, how is your wrestling still here? You know, like you've got to, I just feel like he has not improved the wrestling. For how dangerous he is on the ground, I would really like to see him set up some really good shots.
Okay, and I was going to say, even when it comes, that's with him, his guard being so good, I think it's almost became a deficit of like, I don't need to, like Mackenzie Dern kind of, go ahead, take me down, see what happens,
Right.
You know? Where it's like, he's so confident off of his back, he just probably doesn't feel the need to develop the wrestling as much. But like you said, like on an offensive point though, like, come on, like try to get the fight where you think you're best, where like, you want to display your ground game, you have to have effective ways to get it there.
100%. And it's like, I think we see it, like we've seen it before where he's gotten lucky a little bit. Like I feel like Phil Hawes was winning the fight, and then he had a dangerous leg entanglement that obviously injured him, and that was the beginning of the end for Phil Hawes, which is a real win, absolutely. But it's just so circumstantial. Like I feel like your game plan shouldn't be based on your opponent's offense, right? Like you should have ways to set up your best game, 100%. So I think it's become quite a deficit to him, his just lack of wrestling, and you saw it especially with Fluffy. Like he was almost like, oh yeah, I'll just go to turtle, and if I go to turtle, then I'll be able to like reach through for a leg, and it just wasn't there. I love Fluffy used the cradle really well too. Like that's something I feel like you don't often think about for a leg locker. But if you're on the cradle, a guy that's trying to like tie up your leg, he's not going to be strong enough to pull that single leg to him. So that was really good use of the cradle position too.
And like you brought it up with the Phil Hawes fight, I'm like, it was so successful for Dolidze in the past. So it's like, why should I change? Why fix what's not broken? You know? So I'm like, I feel like Anthony Hernandez kind of showed him, this might be a little bit broken.
Just a teeny bit. But dude, Fluffy is just an animal. And like I did expect him to win this fight. I feel like the only question I really have about Anthony Hernandez now was Fluffy dominant. Like this was like a big brother just like beating up on his like toddler little brother. Like it was incredibly dominant. He looked fantastic. Like Dolidze didn't really have any shining moments that I can think of.
Nothing really that stands out. No, like was definitely trying to engage as a fight. There was points that even they were both, I think, like 5 times in a row screamed like "come on" at each other, like something like that. They were both definitely trying to engage, trying to. I can hear myself back. I don't know why. But he was trying to instigate the fight, trying to be violent. But it's just, I think, I don't know. Fluffy just had such a good answer for everything. Even when Delize did try to bring the fight to him, it's like it didn't really phase him there. He was down for the fight too. He was down for the scrap. He brought out the dog when necessary, and then was just able to stay on him. And like you said, Merab, the middleweight Merab. I'm like, I was thinking about that the whole fight because Merab was in Delize's corner. I'm like, as Merab, what advice are you giving to fight yourself?
I've never really thought about that, but yeah. And it is such a difficult style to deal with. And I guess my one question mark for Anthony Hernandez at this point, and we've seen this answered for Merab now, is like, how is he against like a sharpshooter? Somebody like Izzy or Imavov that's got great range control, great footwork, and just has perfect punch placement. Can he take away that kind of game? And I definitely think he can, just like Merab took away that game from Sean O'Malley. But I am very curious about it because I don't think we've really seen that yet. Michel Pereira is probably the closest to that we've seen, but I wouldn't consider Michel like a sharpshooter. He's a powerhouse. He's explosive. He's athletic. He's got danger, but I don't know if he's super he's not a sniper. Mm. And that's what I'm kind of curious about. I really want to see him fight a sniper.
Yeah, and even with, I guess Michel Pereira is kind of known for this. So I was going to say, even with him, I'm like, after one round, he was done, like worn out, broken, It's just such a grueling style that both Fluffy and Merab have. And I think it comes with neither one of them need anything when they fight. They don't need to get the takedown. They don't need to keep their opponent on the floor. They don't need to keep it on the feet. They're so comfortable everywhere and just working their game and just constantly working that it just lets them be free and flow the whole time.
No, and I've heard you say this about Merab, and I was literally watching Fluffy last night and said the exact same thing, but you're like, he's never fully committed to anything. He's always just trying to stay super efficient and do the thing that requires the least amount of effort, which I think contributes to these guys' cardio. I definitely think genetically, Merab and Fluffy just have great cardio, 100%. They are genetic freaks, but I think they're also incredibly efficient fighters. And I noticed the same thing with him last night. He just never committed to the fully committed to the guillotine, ready to transition back to the back, ready to switch to the cradle, ready to come up to the body lock. Like he's always ready for the next thing, 100%.
My coach always talks about that game that kids play, or it's like toddlers play, where you're trying to put like the pegs into the hole. You're trying to put like a square peg into the round hole. Sometimes when you're trying to force that double leg, that's what you're doing. It's like you're trying to force that square peg into that round hole and it's never going to go, but you're going to sit there and keep on trying to force it. When these guys are just like, you know what, let me change the decision I'm making and make the right one, and let's make this easier.
Earlier on in the night, like a first fight in the night, actually, Cody Brundage is a perfect example of that. I've never seen somebody get separated while in an active attempted takedown and me agree with it. Like just on this single leg, nothing is happening. I refuse to do anything else. Like that's like the one end of the spectrum versus Fluffy, where it's just always ready to move to the next thing. 100%. Yeah, this was disrespectful. DC's like, man, do you have to drag him across the cage like that?
Okay, and also, props to Herb Dean. Obviously, he was Delize was taking some vicious knees to the head, grabbed the cage. Herb Dean didn't stop the fight, just said, that's 1 point. I was like, I love that. I'm like, you're not going to take the position away from him. Obviously deserved the point takeaway because Delize was grabbing the cage 1,000 times through that fight. Absolutely. I think that's also probably due to his lack of wrestling defense, that it's probably I don't know, out of habit because he doesn't know how to defend a takedown. So even if you watch a lot of his past fights, he's just so comfortable pulling guard. When people shoot, he just goes straight to his back. So I'm like, I think it was just more habit grabbing the fence, but definitely deserved that point at that time.
No, 100%. And it's, man, giving up the back is a defense. as long as you add something to it after you just go to turtle. And that's like, for a guy like Delize, you're so comfortable rolling for a leg and you're dangerous enough there that Fluffy has to be very very specific about where he puts his legs when he's riding on the back. Use that to your advantage, which he did a couple times where he did manage to attack a leg. But then if you can't hook the leg because they're not putting a hook in, you have to have something else. Give up your back. Walk to the cage. Use the cage to get up. Fight hands. Like, it's just this just a willingness to stay on, like, in that turtle position. And it's not even like being on both your knees in turtle is not, you're not getting up from that. You need to at least step up one leg immediately.
Even just a willingness to stay on the ground in general. Because obviously I'm all for playing guard. I'm like, I think Delize is an absolute, like, I think his guard work in his past fights is beautiful. I think he has a great jiu-jitsu game for MMA. But like, but again, going back to Dean, he always says the 4 S's. You got to strike, sweep, submit, or stand up. Delize was doing the first 3. You got to add all 4. I'm like, he wasn't trying to, even with Fluffy was giving him the stand-ups because Fluffy didn't want to deal with his guard. So Delize was going into the leg lock. Fluffy was turning his back, walking away. Use that to get up and set up something. Like, use that to set up taking his back, or get up and attack him, get on him while he's turned from you. Or you have to use those situations. And he was just like Fluffy had to be like, no, get up every single time. There was no situation where Delize was following him up and pushing the pressure in the fight.
Yeah, no, 100%. And it's like, you saw him break very early. And I do think Delize struggles. He's not, I don't know. I don't want to say he's a quitter, but he's definitely he slows down. He slows down for sure. But this time I do think you saw him start to quit. You saw him, like you said, grabbing the cage consistently because he just didn't have any other answers for what was happening. And grabbing the glove, like, a lot of fouls. But I'm with you. I commend Herb for allowing the position to continue, because that would have really slowed down Fluffy's momentum.
Anthony, him talking to the ref casually with the dude with Delize's finger in his glove, just being like, you see this?
Chin eating Romans across the cage, hooks and lat. Dude, Fluffy's a stud. Dude, the elbows too. Like, I feel like as soon as he shoots, if he doesn't get this like immediate great shot, it was like right over the top elbow. Like, he definitely was not worried about Roman's power. Like, dude's got a monster chin. He really is Marab. Monster chin, crazy cardio, the flow in between the striking and I always said strappling, the striking and the grappling. We could technically call it that. He really is middleweight Marab.
Oh yeah, we always talk about how in MMA, I feel like the biggest deficit that everybody has is the in-betweens, the in-between striking and wrestling, in between jiu-jitsu and striking or whatever. Those kind of sports haven't really been developed as much because people have just learned straight jiu-jitsu or straight striking or straight wrestling. And Hernandez and Marab just blend it together so much better than everybody else. Like you said, halfway in on a shot, coming with an elbow. Like, the second he's on the ground, he's mixing in strikes, 2 submissions, like, always just completely blending the games together. And I think that makes them so difficult to deal with.
Yeah, no, 100%. And it's funny too, because they're both a little bit smaller for the weight class too. Like, they're not big guys. Like, Roman looked massive compared to Fluffy, and it just didn't matter. Like, it just didn't matter.
Oh yeah, no, I'm like, and even just like, I don't know. It's so impressive to see. I'm like, these guys, I feel like they don't look like fighters sometimes. Like Hernandez, if you saw him in the street, you wouldn't be like, oh, that dude's one of the baddest people on the planet, I'm like, you're like, oh, you're an absolute monster in the cage. But I'm like, he just doesn't really look like it from the outside.
Right. You think as Marab was watching Fluffy for moments, he's thinking, brother, he's perfect. Honestly, you can't hate on talent, right? But it's okay. I have a little game for us to play. Well, for you to play. I'm gonna ask you. So before this fight, Fluffy was number 10. Roman was number 9. Where do you put them after a performance like that? Because typically, if it's a close-ish fight, I feel like they might just flip-flop them, But that kind of dominance, what do you think? Where does he go?
No, I think Fluffy belongs like in top 5-ish era. I need to look at the exact rankings to see who's up there.
I'll read it to you. So number 1, you have Nasruddin Imavov. Number 2, you have Sean Strickland. 3 is Kamzat. 4 is Izzy. 5 is RDR. 6 is, wow, they bumped RDR way up. 6 is Caio Braulio. 7 is Whitaker. 8 is Jared Cannonier. And 9 is Delize. And then Fluffy.
Yeah, I would like to, I don't know, maybe I'd say 6 or 7 then maybe.
Yeah.
Bump them up a couple spots definitely still. There's a lot of big names you just named there that and SG pointed out this, which I was considering too. How is Strickland number 2? Because that was one, when you named all them people, I'm like, I would love to see Hernandez versus Strickland. I think he would run through him at number 2. But that being said, I think like Bohio might be a harder fight.
Bohio's obviously booked right now. So, I mean, if you look at the top 10, I don't want to say, I understand, like, you're like, well, how is he number 2? Because he's only lost 2 fights in the last, since 2022, and they were both to the champ. Like, you kind of have to, like, you can't bump him. I don't disagree with a lot of people's sentiments that I don't think Sean Strickland will ever hold the belt again. I'm not outside of that realm by any means, but until he's lost to more than just the champ, you can't just dump him back down to like number 7, 8. I think that's fair. But here's the issue. Strickland's suspended. So I don't know. Somebody in the last show knew how long he was suspended for. So whoever that was, it was probably SG, I feel like, or Jake. You guys are our like resident stat holders. So let me know in the comments how long Strickland is suspended for if you know. And if it's not very long, then that gives Hernandez time to, take 8 weeks off and get ready for 6 months, ? Your guess is as good as mine. I don't know. But I feel like that fight makes sense. Because for Strickland, you don't want it to be somebody that's like ready for a title shot. Because if Strickland's already lost to the champ twice, obviously assuming DDP beats Kamzat, and then possibly the winner of Caio versus Imavov, I would imagine is probably the next title shot, unless they just throw RDR all the way up there, which I don't think is out of the realm of possibility. Okay, he's suspended indefinitely until a verdict. I think I saw suspended indefinitely, but I didn't know if anything happened since then, so it might be a while. It is Vegas. They love to suspend people or take their money.
To be fair, it was the other kid's fault that Strickland retaliated. Like, did you see the video?
Yes, but you get like it's his fault, but like it's not. You don't get suspended for talking smack. You get suspended for getting in a physical altercation. Like yes, absolutely F around, find out, but also you are held to a higher standard as a coach and a cornerman and a former UFC champion to not go and fight a regional fighter because he stuck his tongue out at you.
I guess I'm like, for me, I'm like, I just look at it as it's Sean Strickland. Like, you knew what you were doing talking shit to Sean Strickland. You knew the trouble you were putting yourself in. Like, you did that to yourself. Like, I'm like, it's Sean Strickland. Like, you knew what was going to happen.
No, for sure. Like, yes, that's fair. You should expect that kind of reaction out of Strickland. He's suspended until they feel like it, or they figure out how much they want to fine him, and then he'll be fined and suspension will be waived is more likely. I do think that happens a lot with the state commission where they're like, oh, suspension, so we can fine you $2,000. But we'll see. We were wondering last night, would Strickland be able to fight outside the U.S.? No. So if you are suspended by a U.S. state commission and you do go outside the country to fight, you are never allowed to fight under a U.S. state commission ever again. So that is a violation. You can't do that unless you plan to just, okay, I'm only going to fight for Ryzen for the rest of my career, unless you're willing to do that. Because I do think people have done that in the past. Like I'll just fight for Brave, and they just stay on like the Russian promotions, things like that. But yeah, if he ever wants to fight in the UFC again, that ain't happening. So yeah, that's the thing. But where were we going with this? Fluffy versus Sean Strickland. I think that fight makes sense. Like, I feel like you can't give Fluffy a title shot yet. There's way too many guys in the wings that have earned that between RDR, between Caio Borralho, between Imavov. Like, you have to give one of those guys the next shot. So I do think Fluffy probably needs one, maybe even two, depending on how they play the RDR situation. What would you see his like path over the next year to look like?
No, I think that he would need at least one more. I think a Strickland would be perfect because it's a good testing opportunity, someone who is, like you said, only lost to the champ recently. And it would let you know if he really is ready for that opportunity. Because right now I wouldn't put him as he's the next contender. He's ready for a title shot now,
Right. So let's say Strickland is out for a while. Would you give him Izzy instead?
I think that's a good matchup, but I think that's a less favorable matchup for him. I like the for Hernandez to win. I think the Strickland matchup is a little bit more, I feel like goes his way a little bit more, where Izzy is going to be a harder fight. But that being said, if you are trying to fight the champ, you should be able to beat everyone below them. So I feel like, I don't know, if he's ready for it, then that'll really prove if he's ready for it.
Somebody did bring up Whitaker as well. I think it all depends where they put Fluffy after this. If they bump Fluffy up above Whitaker, there's no reason for him to fight that, to take that fight, because he really is on just like the upward swing. I agree with what you're saying. I think stylistically, Sean Strickland is a better matchup for Fluffy than Izzy is, but I really want to see him fight that style. Mm-hmm. Like because I will die on this hill. I don't think Izzy is washed. I thought he looked really, really good in the Imavov fight till he got caught. Like, it was, the feints are still there. The speed is still there. The smoothness is still there. And I really want to see how a Fluffy style can or cannot nullify a guy like that. So I would really like to see that fight.
Oh, no, I think that would be an interesting matchup overall. And I feel like you said, I think Izzy does have a little bit better of style. I think for me, the best style to beat me is somebody who's going to like try to run from me on the outside, kind of, play on the outside, where I think Izzy can do that well with Fluffy. He'd be able to play on the outside and keep him off him a little bit more and just kind of keep him chasing him. And I wouldn't say Anthony is necessarily the best athlete, which I would say that about myself too. I don't feel like we're the most like athletic. We don't have like high explosiveness or speed, or where I think that's going to be his only element that he might have to deal with, where Izzy might be able to top him, is keeping him away, being a little bit faster, being a little bit more athletic.
Yeah. No, and that's what I want to see. That's 100% what I want to see. If that, like, the footwork and the changes what they do. Sean, I disagree. I think he's past this. MVP isn't even ranked at 85. Which this is a very interesting fight too. Like, MVP is a really hard guy to fight, but Cannonier is world class at fighting guys who are hard to fight. Cannonier's a powerhouse, man. He is such a powerhouse. I love watching him. I actually don't know what I think is going to happen there. There's also the fact that MVP is, I don't know, is he a middleweight? Is he killing himself to make 170? He's so tall, but he's so like long and skinny, So I'm curious. I'm curious if he is really a middleweight. Anyway, doesn't matter. We need to talk about more of UFC Vegas 109. Steve Erceg. So Steve Erceg is an enigma to me. I feel like he can lose really, really close fights to the best guys in the world. And then he can almost get finished by Ode Osborne, who I think is a really, really talented, really, really talented words. I read SG's comment and got confused by it, and then lost my train of thought. It's your fault, SG. Oh, Ode Osborne is a really, really talented fighter with a lot of unteachables that has just not quite figured out how to put it together. And I think we saw him at the beginning of that, or mid first round, when he dropped Steve Erceg, got a little bit overzealous and maybe just made the tiny wrong decisions that led to him getting reversed and allowing Steve Erceg to recover. Like, you feel like you saw a similar story there in that first?
Oh yeah, 100%. I'm like, I think honestly, when O'Day dropped him in the first, I was like hyped, cheering for him. I'm like, I just wanted to see that finish. I was calling him the underdog all week. I thought that he might be able to pull it off. When I saw that, I was like, oh, he's going to actually do it. And like we're just talking about, I think he has that speed. He is so fast on the feet where it just looked like Erstereg couldn't really catch up to him the whole time. Where he was he was able to with the grappling exchanges. That's how he was able to kind of close the distance. But I definitely saw that a little bit where I think he just got a little bit too excited, but had a beautiful moment in that first round.
No, and now like he's 13-9 overall, 5-7 in the UFC. And it's like he's losing to good guys like Filho, Amabayev, Ronaldo Rodriguez is really good. He's losing to good guys. It's just Manel Kape. And I feel like he even has good moments in a lot of those fights. It's just not all coming together, you know? And I also I noticed the same thing. And I'm almost kind of wondering, like, I'm kind of curious if maybe he should be a 35er. Like, I don't know what his cuts are like. He doesn't look massive when he fights at flyweight. So it's like, it's kind of hard for me to say. So it may have just been that Steve Erceg was cutting to make 125, and so he looked a little smaller than O'Day, while O'Day took the fight short notice, so he looked a little bigger because he wasn't going to be able to make 125, you know? So I'm not really sure if O'Day should be a 35er necessarily, but he definitely did look big.
I just wish he could, like, what he was doing in the first round kept on it for the next two, because he didn't look gassed. It almost looked like he's got... And it might have just been the fear of the takedown. It looked like he got more frozen. Yeah. He was more nervous to open up and try to attack and give himself opportunities, where he just looked more frozen, which I'm like, I feel like typically you see it like first round people are frozen and they loosen up in the third, where I'm like, he looked like he was loose in the first. And then the next two rounds looked like he just kind of froze up a little bit.
I think that is kind of how he fights though. Like that first round, he's usually a gamer. Like he is a gamer in that first round, no matter who he's fighting. And then I think maybe if he loses momentum, he has a hard time getting it back.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense. Like he's not quitting. Like he doesn't quit and get finished like we've seen other guys that are powerhouses in the first round do. It's just, he just doesn't seem to be able to, like, once the other guy kind of finds his rhythm or finds his takedown, you don't see him like reverse and get that, like get his moments back, if that makes sense.
Because even in the third, I want to say he didn't throw a single strike. Erceg just went in there and shot after like a minute of nothing happening. And it just seemed kind of effortless, like through the third round for Erceg.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. And it's, I hope O'Day can like put some of these pieces together, because he does have, man, he has unteachables. Like that speed and that athleticism. I don't think he could come in and teach a seminar to me on how to fight like that.
Let's say I want to learn that if he's teaching it.
I don't think you can. I don't think you and I can learn that. Like, I think that's a gift. That's a gift. And so it's like he really does have these really special gifts. And just the fast twitch that he has is really impressive. So I hope he can kind of put some more pieces together, because Erceg is a really well-rounded, tough, high-level guy. Like, he's only losing to the best guys in the division. So, and to have such a big moment and a big round against him, like, it's impressive. I do kind of wonder, like, with the UFC is so strange. We saw heavyweight which is a underpopulated division. We saw a very boring heavyweight get cut when he was 7-1 in the UFC. Then you have O'Day Osborne, who's 5-7. Does he get another chance? I mean, obviously this was short notice. I imagine they would at least give him one more, if nothing else. But what do you think for him?
No, I think he might get one more chance. Just like he said, he brings that exciting round. Like he's not necessarily a boring fighter all around. He did slow down a little bit, but like the first round was super exciting. My only debate is I'm looking at his Tapology now. I'm like, he's 33 years old. So he is like a little bit on the higher end of the spectrum, where it's like, do we really want to give this guy another chance at this age? He's probably, if he hasn't put it together now, he's probably not going to be able to put it together. So it's like, Yeah, I don't know. He might deserve another chance just due to his performances, but I don't know. I don't know if they do give it to him.
No, that's fair, especially with the age. I will say though, a guy that just now seems to be putting it together at the ripe age of 35 was Andre Fili. He was like, what's his overall? His overall UFC record is 13-11. So it is a winning record. So it's a little better than Ode's, but still not great. And
I saw a stat that said in Andre Fili's last 13 fights, he hasn't produced the same result twice in a row.
Yeah. Win loss, like over and over. And Ode has a similar flow to his record as well. Like maybe a couple in a row, but not a whole lot. And so it's man, with Fili, dude, C-Rod is the prospect killer.
But I'm like, he always has these issues. I'm like, he always kills prospects. And once you give him someone who's like kind of a vet that's not great, he just can't put it together. I'm like, every single loss on his record, they're vets who are like middle level, not like huge, like, I don't know, not ranked vets. And I'm like, I don't know. And I think it's more than just like he's not ready for these matchups. I feel like it might be a performance thing mentally because I feel like he looks different when he's performing against these younger up and coming guys versus I don't know if it gets into his head fighting like these big vets or what it is.
And it's also funny because like some of these prospects he's killed, I 100% thought he lost those fights. Like especially the Isaac Dolgarian fight. That one was pretty wild to me. So it is kind of fitting, I think, just to, not that I like hoped he lost. It's kind of fitting that he won a fight I thought he definitely lost, and now he's losing a split decision. I did have Fili winning. I felt like the wrestling, like there's takedowns, and then there's I pick you up and I slam you several times. Like that just it's like the difference between I land a really good jab and I slip and rip cross you and you step back and wobble. Like that's the difference, I think, from like a grappling perspective on from a judge's standpoint of I got a really nice takedown with good control and I pick you up, carry you across the cage and drop you on your head. Speaking of dropping on the head, we will definitely get to that as well. But like, you know, I'm curious how you scored that fight for sure, but I do think Fili deserved the win.
No, I scored first round Fili, third round Rodriguez, second round. I had it scored Fili, but if you scored it Rodriguez, I wouldn't be mad. I'm like the third and the second round was so close. It like I can see why it was a split decision, why a judge gave it either way.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And I think Fili just looked a little crisper to me. Like when he would land, it did more damage. C-Rod was wearing the damage on his face, but it just seemed a little sharper. Like you'd see him kind of like step back counter or he'd step back hook. And they looked really like they connected a little bit better, if that makes sense. So I felt like he had the bigger moments for sure. But man, like I think C-Rod is he only has a few losses on his record. Is it 3? 4. He's got 4 losses on his record. Like 12-4 is not a bad record at all, especially at the highest level of the sport. So I feel like that's a darn good win for 35-year-old Andre Fili. Can't put 2 wins together in a row. Like he looks like he's starting to figure it out to me. So, but the old dogs have been kind of crushing it lately.
I'm like, honestly, this year it's been like the year of like you said, like the vets. They've all been killing it.
Yeah, D-Rod's an old dog. Michael Johnson's looking great lately. Like I'm kind of loving it. It's good to see. It's good to see. Was that Verna in Lucinda's corner? I don't know how you could look at that woman and not recognize her, but yes, it was definitely Verna Jandarova. Also, guys, if you want to say something on the mic, if you have something to say, do not answer the question. Say what you want to say immediately. Do not try to don't answer all the questions and then you decide you want to say something else, especially after you've talked a bunch and then try and run after DC for the mic. Like just say what you want to say first. I don't know why people do that. Like say it first. Say it first. Yeah, if the two of them fight, I don't think they will. I would imagine it seems to be Like, she kind of said her plan on the mic. She's like, Verna's going to fight for the title, which I do expect to happen in the next several months. I think it makes sense. Verna fights for a belt. And then I think she's kind of alluding to whenever she's done up there, I'm gonna go up there. So kind of maybe like an Aljo Marab type relationship.
Well,
But
and Verna is a little bit older in age too. So it's like by the time Lucindo's up there, I'm assuming Verna's going to be retired.
yeah, I think so. And it's not like Lucindo is like ready for a title shot after beating Angela Hill. I think there's a lot of, like, if we look at the rankings, there's a lot of people in between that are going to get that shot first. You, of course. The girl that just beat her, Lemos, is ahead of her. You know, two dishwashers. What? Okay. There's a lot of girls that are ahead of her. I honestly, even Dern is probably like, she's strung together more wins recently, things like that. So I feel like, yeah, like you said, there's a lot of time in between. But she did look really good against Hill. And I think she fought Hill how you kind of have to, because a lot of people get out-volumed by Hill, but Hill doesn't have a lot of power. There's not a lot of sting at the end of her punches. She's trying to mix in the wrestling, but the shots are not like, it's not like, oh, she took a really, really good hard shot. Like, there's a lot of like, she mixes things together well, and she's high volume. So if you let her get going, she tends to kind of pull away on a lot of these fighters. Lucinda was like, okay, you can't hurt me, so I'm going to pressure. I'm going to trade 6 of my hooks for your one jab. And I think she fought her really, really well.
Angela Hill let me down last night. I was hoping she was going to win. So I'm like, I might be able to get that matchup, you know? Or it'd be she might have gotten ranked above me. It would have been a better matchup for me. Cause I'm looking at the rankings right now, and it looks like I might be fighting below me if I want to fight before the end of the year. You know, I'm going to fight somebody who's ranked below me if I want to get in there. So I was like, Angela, you want to win, please? I don't think they would give me Lucindo, honestly. I think they're trying to keep as many contenders until we do have to fight each other. So I'm like, I don't know. I think Lucindo and this is what I thought going into it. I was like, I didn't think she was going to win a decision. I thought Angela Hill would have won if it was a decision. Like, before the fight, I was like, if it goes into a decision, Angela Hill's going to win. If it gets finished, Lucindo wins.
I think that's a fair assessment, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm like, so it kind of surprised me. She was just able to like outvet her a little bit, you know? She was able to stay in her face. Like you said, Angela was throwing one punch to Lucindo's 6. It was just the volume of her punches, and then able to secure the takedowns when she needed to. So I think, I wouldn't say the most entertaining for me, but an all-around good performance from her. And yeah, Angela let me down. I was hoping that she would have won that and they would have been able to throw her to me, but I don't know. We'll see what comes my way.
Izzy Boy is like, do you think you'll be on the Vancouver card?
That's what I'm hoping. So that's what I'm really hoping for. And I want to fight before the end of the year regardless, but it's just the opponent's been the issue this whole time. Like I said, it's all the girls who are ranked above me have either said no to me or they're currently fighting. They're currently matched up. So I'm looking at the girls ranked below me right now and seeing what happens. So yeah, I'm praying for the Vancouver card though.
That would be awesome. Our buddy, the Doc, back in the comments section today. What's up, Doc? Let's see. Some fantastic ouchies were delivered last night. Edwards has hands. Yeah, we haven't even talked about Josie Edwards yet. Man, she's really been putting it together lately. And I mean, if you're going to manufacture the perfect matchup for a girl like Jocelyn Edwards, like Priscilla Cachoeira is about as perfect as it gets. Like, you know, she's going to walk forward, throw heavy leather, and somebody's probably getting knocked out, which is what we saw. But just the placement on the uppercut, super clean. I'm very interested to see what they do with her next in a division that I feel like isn't super deep right now, but it looks like they're trying to soup it up. They're like a couple of new signings, Michelle Montague and Bia Mesquita, both girls that train down here in Florida with us. Like, they're trying to soup up the division. So I'm interested to see what they do with her next.
She's still 29, so still like younger, you know? So I really feel like she might just be coming into her prime kind of now, you know? After she had 2 losses in a row to Cornell.
Yeah. Cornell.
Cornell and then against Eileen Perez. And then after that, I'm like, her next 3 fights were absolutely beautiful performances. I'm like, I really think she just found something. How we were saying like earlier, how O'Day just needed to find something to like really pull it all together. I think she's like really coming into that era for herself right now. With even like in her previous fights, I know she's had some weight misses and things like that. It seems like she's getting that under control more, and it's just she's really coming into her own, and it makes sense at 29 years old to be doing so.
Right. Yeah, no, I agree. And like I do kind of wonder too if it's a little bit the level of opponent. I think Nora Kono, like if you look at records, Eileen is killing it in the UFC. Like she's your teammate. Like so you have obviously you've been watching her, but like I feel like she has really been stringing together some pretty solid wins. And then Nora was like 6-1 when they fought. It's a good record. Maybe she just wasn't quite ready for that step up. Like you said, she is a little bit younger, and so she kind of had to cut back a little bit. Tamiris Vidal, Chelsea Chandler, Priscilla Cachoeira. Priscilla is dangerous, but not necessarily like super, super technical, super high level. So maybe she just needed some time to develop a little bit more. And maybe we'll see her make a jump to one of these girls. Like 3 in a row in an unpopulated division. I imagine she probably is going to get somebody. Would you say top 10? Does she jump over Nora since she has that? Nora's at 12 right now. Does she jump over Nora since she has that win over her? For her next fight, obviously not. I don't think they're going to put her that high in the rankings off this win necessarily. But like you got Carol Rosa at number 10. That's a pretty big jump. Maybe Jackie Cavalcanti. She's been looking really good in her first few fights.
They kind of have similar styles too.
I think that makes for an exciting matchup, especially in a division that's not known for exciting matchups.
No, they're both definitely have that like sniper kind of striker style. So I think that would definitely be an entertaining matchup. I think somewhere between like, and I would say like 8 and 12 is where she would get a fight. Like that seems like a good jump up.
No, that makes sense. She's at 14. Maybe they bump her up. A win over somebody who's not ranked. Maybe not, maybe they bump her up 1. But yeah, I think that makes sense. Between 8 and 12. So you've got Myra Bueno Silva, Yana Santos, Carl Rosa, Jacqueline Cavalcante, and Nora Cornoli. So I would campaign for Cavalcanti. I think that's a fun fight.
No, I think that's the matchup to make. I think that's an interesting firefight there.
We have compliments in the comment section that I feel like need to go up. Julie got that Chad jawline.
Like, is that a good thing? Don't think so.
I think that's a good thing. Strong, a nice solid jaw. Big jaw. Thanks, Wixon. We appreciate you, man. Thanks for hanging out today. The comment section is popping in the comments. This is scaring me.
I was gonna say is the one above that I'm trying to.
Colostrum coming through. Wixon said it is a good thing. It is a good thing.
Let's go.
We appreciate you guys. But I feel like who did we kind of miss on this card? We talked about Josie Edwards, great. Uros Medic.
I was going to say Elijah Smith, but Uros Medic too. I like both of them. Elijah put on a straight beating. Like an absolute, went in there, got in his Kazama's face from the beginning, dropped him, was landing some devastating 12-6 elbows. All credit to Kazama because he was throwing up. He threw up a heel hook and a straight arm lock, trying to attack those submissions from the bottom. Went for the triangle at the end, and a beautiful, like, it wasn't just a slam, but it was the technique behind the slam too. He lifted him up, and you saw him place his hand in front of Kazama's neck, so he made sure he landed on his head whenever he slammed him, and it was a vicious knockout.
He went up on his tippy toes. Like that was not like I'm stuck. Let me just try and shuck you off of me. Like you said, it was intentional. It was done with fight IQ and it was scary. That was a scary knockout. Like they had to do, Very rarely are they doing a medical update later in the card, so you know the guy's still alive. Like,
from top to bottom, that fight, I felt like it was like I said, the 12-6 elbows at the very beginning. That after he got dropped, then the 12-6 elbows. I'm like, then combined with a slam, I'm like that. I don't know, a lot of brain damage. A lot of brain damage.
You brought up the 12-6 elbows, and I kind of want to comment on this a little bit. I feel like the recent rule changes in like the last year are not getting the love that they deserve. I don't think people have noticed because we've been having some really great cards, and I definitely think that the introduction of 12-6 elbows makes people just more willing to throw elbows because you don't have to be as worried about the angle of your elbow as you're placing it. You're willing to go a little bit harder in those positions, but also the changing of the rules for a knees to a downed opponent. The knees that Fluffy Hernandez landed on Roman Dolidze, that is not the first fight where we've seen that. I like Grant fought Diego Ferreira, had his leg. Diego had an hand on the ground. Grant literally was like on a single leg, kicking Diego in the face. Like it's just adding these really exciting pieces back into the game. And I feel like it's part of the reason we've been having such great cards lately.
I've been blaming it on the matchmaking, but you might be right there. I'm like, I feel like we've had some pretty good matched up fights of recent, but I'm like, with the new rule changes, obviously it's brought in a whole new element. And I'm like, me as a fighter, I've definitely appreciated it. But I'm like, that's from a different standpoint. But the violence in fights that we have seen recently has definitely been, that extra little touch.
Yeah, like we've been seeing more cuts. We've been seeing more damage, especially on the ground. And I definitely think the rule changes have been a positive. So, and it's funny. It's like we were so excited about it when they were talking about the rule changes. And it's kind of like, I feel like people already kind of forgot about the fact that that's pretty new.
Yeah, I'm like, it's definitely, I don't know. It's definitely kind of faded out. But I'm like, I think I've seen more of the fighters. It's phased in more with the fighters where you can tell that more people are drilling things that are involving this kind of, like they're coming up with new ideas and ways to use these kind of techniques you can see in fights.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's beautiful to see. I'm excited about it. I cannot wait to be able to knee people in the face when they're in that position. That is, so all the atom weights out there, if you would like to fight me, please just DM me. Just do it. I'm sending a message to the masses.
I think both of us are just sending that out there this morning, just begging for fights on here.
Someone fight us.
But you brought it up quick, the Euros Medic fight. I'm like, oh, absolutely straight precision, beautiful right hand. It was the tempo change of it too. He was like shuffling to the side, changed direction, darted in with that right hand, and oh my gosh, an absolutely beautiful finish of Urbina.
Well, and I feel like Medic is one of those guys where it's like he's either knocking you out or he's getting demolished. And it's like, and then he got dropped. Like he fought Punahele Soriano last and got knocked out in like 30 seconds. And then you see Gilbert Urbina come out, this beautiful, hard step in 1-2 over the top. Medic goes down. It's like, oh, happened again, but he recovered so nicely. And then just the little slip and rip. Like it's so basic, but the guys that can do it well and do it quickly, where you make them miss small and then you are able to come back and land really, really quickly. It was beautiful, beautifully placed.
Oh yeah, that first like 30 seconds must have been like deja vu to him. Just like, no, not again. I'm like, it was like the exact same combination Urbina threw to Euros to knock him down. I'm like, must have just been like a nightmare happening for a second.
No, for sure. And it's honestly, I wonder if that kind of sits in your mind. They were talking about this during the Steve Ursig fight, where he was saying like when he fought Moreno, he was still thinking about the knockout from the previous fight. And that's like, you can't be doing that in the fight. And so I do wonder when you're coming off that first knockout, you've never been like flash KO'd, right? I was like, no. So you don't know, like, I don't know what that's like either to like come back from that and be like, are you thinking about that every second like of that fight? I'm curious how hard it is to kind of turn off that part of your brain. Yeah, I definitely agree. He says a lot of things though, and I don't think that's coming anytime soon, if ever. But unfortunately, I don't think there's enough atomweights outside the UFC right now for them to create a division without pulling a lot from the strawweight, which I definitely think some of the strawweights would like to go down. There are definitely some small girls there, but I totally forgot about my best bet. This was my best bet for betting bananas too. I'm sorry, I'm like bouncing all over, but I just don't think there's enough active atomweights outside of the UFC that aren't making really good money in Asia to the point where they would want to leave to go to the UFC. Anyway, I digress. Uros Medic, thinking about knockouts.
Well, we skipped over him, like you said. Christian Leroy Duncan, absolutely dominant performance. Went out there that clean spinning back elbow, and then was just able to finish it off. After that, it made pretty effortless 3 minutes there.
No, I agree, and just the length on that guy, it's such a massive reach advantage for almost everybody in that division. That's such an asset. And we've seen guys who are really long and really, really lanky not always use that length to their advantage. Like guys who do use it well, Wonder Boy, MVP, like Christian Leroy Duncan, like it really is a gift. And then you see guys like Stefan Struve that fight like they're 5'5" when they're 6'9". Like, and it needs to be used well. It's not always a gift if you don't know how to utilize it, but he definitely does.
I don't know, and he put on a beautiful performance. And just like for Eric Anders, he just looks like such an athlete. He just looks like a football player in there. Like when he tackles you, like he got one takedown at the beginning and just looked like he drove him right across the cage. And to be able to put someone down like that, who's just kind of a solid structure, is just super impressive.
Right. And he was a football player. He played for Alabama.
Oh, shit. I didn't know that.
I'm pretty sure he's a linebacker. Don't quote me.
He looks like that.
Look up football.
I'm like, the way he does his double legs looks like he's a linebacker. I'm like,
college football linebacker for University.
Makes sense. I'm like, literally just looks like, I don't know, just so solid.
Oh no, he definitely is. He's an athlete, and you can see it in his fights. This is an opinion of mine that I've had for a very long time. I think very highly of just the athleticism overall of like NFL players and high level football players. To me, they're probably the best overall athletes. Like if we look at just pure genetic prowess combined with like athletic skill, dude. And obviously, why would you leave a $3, $4, $5 million contract? Those are like, I'm pretty sure on the lower end, there's guys that are making 10 times that. But why would you leave that to come to the UFC to fight for 12 and 12? But I'm just saying the guys that like don't quite cut it in the NFL, like if they trained hard in MMA, man, some of those guys could be crazy good heavyweights, especially like you teach that like those guys a good double leg. Man, I feel like Greg Hardy went kind of far without even working hard. Like he won some fights and you could tell he didn't really care that much, you know?
Well, even just with him, just because of his name, he got pushed into opportunities way too soon before he was ready. I think he had one amateur fight and then got into the contender series. So it's like, how can you take a person like who has zero experience and just throw them onto the highest stage in the world just because they have a big name in another sport? So I think like he sort of got, screwed by his name, having such a big name, being such a big personality. And then it's like, all right, now we're going to give you big opportunities. It doesn't matter if you're ready for them or not.
Right. And we've seen that not just with football, but I think that kind of happened to Bo Nickel too. And it may have been part of the reason that happened to Bo is because I doubt very many people on the regional scene wanted to fight Bo Nickel for $400, or $1,000. Like I doubt he was very easy to matchmake for. So, I understand why that does happen. Like I think Bia kind of ran into that too. Bia Mesquita, she's like a world-class jiu-jitsu girl. It was not easy to matchmake for her until she was like on LFA's radar. And it's like, okay, LFA pays a little bit better. And,
I was going to say, to be fair to them though, they're at least in combat sports and have competed in combat sports for a very long time. I'm like, going from football to a combat sport is completely different world.
No, that's a fair point. Like, at least you're working on one piece your entire life of MMA. But yeah, no, that's a good point. I would love to see it. I have a friend that, like, he first gone to PFL. Okay, we'll deal with that in a second. That's a bad idea. But I have a friend that plays football, and I'm like, you need to go into MMA. You would be so good. We just got it because he's a superb athlete and he works like crazy hard. And I'm like, I can't imagine what a guy like that could do in a division like heavyweight, where there's not a ton of athleticism. The top guys do have it, but it's almost like the rest of the heavyweight division has just sort of like agreed, hey, wrestling's hard, so we're not going to work on it. We're just not going to wrestle each other. Like, and then the handful of guys that have the athleticism and the grappling, they excel. They excel so much in that division.
I was going to say, I just think MMA, what makes it such a beautiful sport, though, is that you can be somebody who is slower and not as athletic. Like Anthony Hernandez versus Delize last night. Delize's the better athlete all around, but Anthony Hernandez was able to outwork him just because he is more technical, does approach it smarter.
But we're talking about heavyweight, which is a totally different sport.
Yeah, completely different then.
The rules of MMA do not apply to heavyweight. They just don't. I want to address this comment from Izzy Boy, and you jump in if you disagree with me. I don't think going to PFL to gain experience is always the best plan. I think it worked really well for Kayla Harrison, and it's working really well for Dakota Ditcheva. However, if you do go to PFL, typically if you're going to be active in PFL, it means you're in the tournament. That means you cannot pick your matchups. So if you have zero experience in MMA, you have 2 amateur fights. I think Bo only had a couple. You have maybe 1 pro fight. You go into the PFL tournament. Your first fight in the first round could be a guy with 30 professional fights. Like the middleweight division and also they didn't even have middleweight at PFL until this year. So there wouldn't have been anybody for Bo to fight the last 2 years. But even if he went in this year, he would have been fighting Fabian Edwards and Dalton Rasta and guys who have a lot of experience, So it's like, imagine if Bo was going into that tournament as a 1-0 pro, or he gets 1 fight a year on an undercard. I think they did the right thing with him, a couple regional fights and then maybe a couple on Contender Series. And this is why the Contender Series should be a year-round show. Well, we develop these guys,
especially for someone like Bo Nickel and Bia. I don't think it's wrong for them to get signed to the UFC at this point. I think it's wrong for him to be on the main card of UFC 300 fighting Cody Brundage. These are positions we shouldn't be putting this dude in yet. He should be on the undercard fighting Cody Brundage. He should be taking, he was obviously ready for these fights. He's ready to fight at a UFC level because he handled I want to say 4 or 5 in a row there he was handling them well. And it's just, he's not at a high level yet. You can't put him in these big positions yet because he's not ready for them, but he is ready to be at a mid to low level UFC right now.
Yeah. No, I think that's fair. RDR was a massive jump. And I think we almost didn't know it at the time. We knew I had a lot of experience, but he had a lot of experience outside the UFC. And sometimes that means a lot, like Yuri Prohaska. And sometimes that doesn't mean so much, like the guy whose entire record ended up being fake. So it's like, you don't always know what you're getting when somebody comes into the UFC with a lot of other experience, And so I think we didn't really know who RDR was going to be just yet. And so that was a really big jump for Bo, which makes sense, And I don't think that loss is going to age poorly by any means. I think RDR is going to be a powerhouse in this division. But I want your thoughts on this. We'll wrap up with this. Will be our last comment that we talk about. I feel like we broke down. We hit pretty much every big moment on this card. And then we'll preview this weekend's card later on Tuesday. But I think if you look at the different styles of wrestling, especially with American, like high-level American kids, they're usually doing folk, but they're also doing freestyle, which I think is a pretty good foundation for MMA. Yes, it's not MMA grappling, and there's definitely some adjustments to make where you can lock your hands when you're down and things like that. But if we really look across the board at how like the highest level grapplers in the UFC that have a wrestling base, and we compare like Greco guys to like an American-based wrestling, I would tend to say the American-based wrestling tends to do better than Greco. Obviously, you also have Russian, Dagestani, Sambo guys. They do really, really well in MMA too. But I like if I'm looking at like what Mark Madsen's world-class Greco guy, and it didn't like Grant was 6th place at state in high school wrestling, and he absolutely out wrestled Mark Madsen. So it's like I think it probably depends on your specific grappling style, but I would say like a lot of these good wrestlers do translate really well into MMA. Cody Durden is a really grindy American wrestler. DC is one of the best wrestlers ever in MMA. And he's obviously very solid in solid American wrestling. But your thought, like, what do you think on that? Like, the different styles.
I guess it's different styles. I guess I don't know. I definitely think that American wrestling is more effective in MMA than jiu-jitsu and then Greco wrestling. But I guess my argument is I feel like I don't know if if you were to start wrestling and if you're able to start MMA wrestling from the beginning, I think a lot of times people get so locked in their bases and it can become a crutch almost. So I'm like, if you were able to not learn to wrestle from a wrestling stance, but learn to wrestle from a striking stance, learn things because like in that comment, it's saying American wrestling is so different to MMA. I'm like, that's my, I guess, outlook on it. And like, it is so different. You can see people who are super high level wrestlers come into MMA and they're taking shots from 10 miles away because they don't know how to shoot when people are punching at them. They know how to shoot from being in a squatted stance, arm dragging, whatever, like they know how to set up their wrestling shots from a wrestling stance. They don't know how to set up those wrestling shots from a striking stance. And I'm like, I think that's the biggest thing, or I guess the biggest deficit I see is like just learning to adapt it into the sport.
On the same topic, like, then you have a guy like Taurus Finney that can win a fight with throwing, which is not fun to watch. I will agree, but you can win a fight throwing pretty much 0 punches. So it's like it's like I agree with what you're saying. Or you'll see wrestlers fall in love with their striking and get away from their base, and then they get caught. Like Gregor Gillespie gets caught by Kevin Lee after he was just thrashing guys with his wrestling. It's you see like 2 sides of that coin, but it's interesting. I think it can be refined very well, or it can be a crutch for sure. And like for Taurus Finney, it's like it's almost a crutch and it's refined really well. It's just like he just wrestles guys. Like it's almost not even MMA. It's just wrestling.
But then it does become a crutch because this sport is more, it is an entertainment business. It's like, it's more than a sport. You have to go out there and perform. You can't go out there and hold. So it's like, it's a huge crutch. That's the reason he fought in the Contender Series, 4 times and didn't get signed, I'm like, you don't get the opportunities you deserve if you're not entertaining, you don't have people's eyes on you.
He's not super old, right?
I would have no idea.
I actually think he's still pretty young, if I'm remembering right. Hang on. Yeah, he's 26. So I feel like he at least has time. Like, That's a lot of time. Like, he's still technically new to the sport of MMA, like from coming out of college wrestling. So I have hopes for Taurus Finney. I really like the guy. He's a really nice guy, really good wrestler. If he can add some really nasty ground and pound, like, he could be a monster. Okay. Last comment. We're signing off. I support this. December 2025. Co-main. Gillian versus Lemos. RDR versus Hernandez. That would be a killer card. 100%.
Lemos is fighting the Noche in I think it's October, so I don't think that's going to happen. But I appreciate the thought.
But anywho, all right. We're signing off. Thank you guys for joining us Sunday. We will be back on Tuesday. But more importantly, we will be live at the Hard Rock in Hollywood, Florida, the Tuesday after that for a super duper awesome live show with tons of PFL staff. We'll have some of the finalists for the PFL tournament on. Gillian will be there. I will be there. Grant will be there. Other people will be there. I don't remember who else. It's going to be really fun, though. So definitely tune in. We'll be live. It'll be like a really nice looking stream. It'll look way better than us sitting on our computers. So it'll be a good time. Definitely tune in for that. But we will be live at 1 p.m. this Tuesday as well. We love you guys. Thanks for coming. Bye. Did it stop?
Did it stop? Are we still there?
Still here.
We're still here.
I hit the button. It's like taking a really long time. Okay. All right, guys. Bye.